Hey everyone, Leo with Dreaming Treat, and welcome to our Pretty in Pink treat box. It's a tiny little cake on a stand, perfect for maybe a cupcake or some smaller mini cupcakes or whatever treats you have baking in your kitchen. So let's hop right into it here. This one's going to go really quick actually, and we're going to begin by assembling some very simple boxes. And I'm going to grab this one here real quick. I'm going to clean out my glue. This piece, we have a few pieces that kind of look similar. Okay, these here with patterns on them, those are actually going to make up the structures of the cake. This one here that is a plain color is actually going to act as a little lip, or the base of a box, I guess you could say. So I already have everything pre-folded, as should you, and I'm going to go ahead and begin. We're going to begin by putting this little contraption together, and we're simply going to connect these little, they're almost triangles, these little tabs here to their neighboring friends. So we'll tuck this tab behind this next section, make sure it's accurately lined up, and just press and hold that in place. Should go pretty quick. You can also put that down on your surface and press down to help expedite the gluing process. And just like that, you can move on to the next tab. And just go easy with the glue. You don't need a lot. Actually, as long as you get a nice thin layer on there and don't overdo it, you should almost be able to see through the glue. If it's pure white, you probably have too much on there. You want to thin it out. And you can probably start by just not putting as much on the paper to begin with. Okay. So mine is a little white, but as I kind of dab it, that thick white sort of disappears and it almost becomes transparent. I'm going to tuck that tab behind the neighboring wall, press it into place. Should be a nice straight line here. And we'll just keep on moving. Okay, so we're going to do this a bunch of times here to create, again, this is the base of the box. And then we have a few of the box elements that we need to assemble. Okay. And you can see how quickly I'm moving here. And that is because the glue is nice and thin, spread out. Just really gets things going. Okay, again, try to be as accurate as you can when lining these things up. There we go. A couple more to go. And we'll also put together a few of the dimensional elements that are not part of the actual box structure, just to get it out of the way, so that when it's time to incorporate it, those are ready to go. Here we go. Looks good. Got one more here. Okay, get that glue off your fingers. And this is going to be, this will work for, we had a lot of, surprisingly, because oftentimes Valentine's Day doesn't do as well as some of the other holidays. So we decided to skip it this year. And of course, the year that we do, we get tons of requests for it. So I know this one's a little late, but it's not really a Valentine's bundle, but it can surely be used for it. It's probably one of the more practical bundles that we've created because it incorporates things that you're probably baking in your kitchen or maybe just purchasing at the store. Okay, so again, this is the base of the box. Okay, and we'll put that off to the side just for now. And a couple more things we can put together real quick. This piece, this is the actual little cake tray. And before we put it together, we have this piece that's going to go on here. Okay, and we're going to put glue on this piece. You can see that I did hit the edges with this, with a little bit of ink. And we'll begin applying our glue. I'm doing a little curly Q motion here in hopes that I get some of that glue onto the little scallops over there. I don't need to worry about getting everything completely covered with glue as long as the majority of it has glue, we're in good shape. Okay, just glue that down. Try to make sure it's as centered as can be. Let's take a look at that, and that looks great. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to join these little sections at the bottom. You'll notice that on each of these sections there is a little area on the right side that has some score marks that you can fold over. And this section is going to go behind the neighboring section to join it together like that. Okay, so it's acting as a tab even though it has a cutout, a decorative cutout, and that's okay. That's by design, so that when we join these two sections together, you can maintain that design. Okay, so line that up as accurately as you can and press together. It's almost like what we just did with the box, obviously, with the exception of that little decorative hole. Okay, so that should go pretty quick, just like we did with the box. And this is like a white pearlescent paper. Sometimes it's hard to see the glue on there, but just make sure that you get enough glue covering the entire section there. Get that nice and lined up. Press it together, just like that. And moving on to the next section. If after you get these sections together, because I like to ink things while everything's flat, you can see the ink on the very edges here. If after you join these together, you're noticing that maybe there's a gap in your inking, you can always go over these little corner points here with a little additional ink, just to touch it up if necessary. Mine's looking pretty good. I'm not really seeing any, but it's always something you can go back and do. It's never too late. Okay, again, taking that folded section, tucking it behind the neighboring section, making sure it's all nice and lined up. And press and hold, just like that. Just a few more to go. There we go. This would be great for a wedding as well, obviously, with the cake, or even a baby shower. I mean, pretty much anything that relates to cakes. So I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty popular one. And obviously, mass producing these wouldn't be too bad, although I think I'd probably just want to make more than a handful. Unless you're feeling ambitious and you really want to do something extravagant for an upcoming occasion. But we'll see. I have a feeling this may be a 30-minute assembly, maybe 40 the most. We'll see. But still really cool little piece. All right, so for this last section here, you're just going to bring that tab in and apply your glue from the inside so we don't go stretching and accidentally pulling this section apart. Okay, we'll get that nice and aligned. Press it into place. There we go. All right. Okay, so that's all set. Now we also have a little bit of gold trim that we're going to add to this piece, and that's made up of these two sections. You'll notice that there are score marks along these strips, and you simply want to make sure you fold. And when you fold them, as you're folding them, just try to keep them on top of each other. One half on top of the other before you really push down, because they may want to bend or fold like off a little bit. Just nudge it back into place and then finally give it that last little press. Okay. All right, so here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to actually keep these separated instead of joining it and making it all one solid piece. I'm going to go ahead and begin applying glue to this strip. I'm going to do the two center ones. Okay, so we have folds here. There's nothing on the end pieces. And we're going to take and pop this right on. I'm going to use those little score marks as your guide. And we want to make sure that we keep this flush with the top. So you can run your finger right along that top section and just make sure that it's sitting nice and flush with that. I want to keep it consistent all the way around. Okay, shouldn't really be able to really see too much of that white, if any at all, right at the top here. Okay, just press that into place. Make sure your fingers are clean. If by chance you are using a gold foil like I am. Okay, now this part here, the part that does not have the score mark, leave that one alone for now. The part that does have a score mark, pull it back and go ahead and apply glue to that last section, including the little tab. Okay, make sure it's flush with the top, and then you can press that tab into place as well. Okay, just make sure that's making good contact all the way around. And then finally, we'll grab this other half, and you want to make sure that the section with the tab terminates on the side where the other one does not have the tab. So tab to this side, and then the one without a tab here should line up with this one here. And just like we did before, I'm going to start with the two middle sections. Just put some glue right down the center. Should be fine. And make sure you're putting it here. You're skipping one on each side and putting these right here. Use that little score mark as your guide. Keep it nice and flush. Okay. Nice and flush with the surface there. Here we go. Keep pressing that down. Hold that in place for just a moment. There we go. Okay, now this side here, the side that does not have a tab, we can apply some glue to that all the way out to the edge and press that down into place. It should go on top of the other half of this that has the tab. And then that way, if by chance we're off by a little bit, that little tab will kind of complete that corner and make everything look nice and seamless. Okay, you can also put that down on your surface and press down from the inside to get a little extra leverage on that. Okay, take a look. Make sure everything looks good. It does. Now we'll go back here. This is the side without the tab. This is the side with the tab. So let's grab this one and go all the way out, including onto the tab. Get your glue on there. Okay, press that down into place. Again, making sure it's nice and flush with the surface here. And then press that tab down as well. There we go. And then finally, you can grab this last section, apply your glue all the way to the end, and then bring that down. Go right on top of that tab there. Using your finger, just feel it. Make sure it's nice and flush with the top of the surface. Just hold that little last section in place until that glue's fully cured. Okay, I'm going to use my surface again here. Press that down. And we've got nice, beautiful gold trim all the way around now. Okay, and that is almost ready to go. Okay, next we can start constructing the actual top of the box. So we have two of these. One has a hole, one does not. Okay. And we're going to start off with the one that has the hole. And we're going to do the same thing that we did when we created the bottom of the box. And we can begin applying glue to this little trapezoid tab. Thin it out nicely. Bring that next section over. Tuck that tab behind. Line it up and press and hold. As you can see, I went around on this and I inked it with a little bit of a darker pink just to kind of, you know, add a little interest to it. Okay, and moving right along. Next tab, thin that glue out, spread it out, tuck it behind, and press. There we go. And the next one. we go. And now this paper, this is actually by Cartabella. I love the texture of their paper and the look of it. The AC cardstock has like a weave texture. This has its own, I don't know what you would call it. I'm not really sure. I'm sure they have a specific term for it. But it's a really nice paper, although it does have a white core. So when you cut this out using the perforated score marks, sometimes they do show through, but as you can see, because of the inking, it covers that up. I did not ink up here because we have this glitter element that's going to go on top of it for the icing, which is going to hide that anyway, so it's not a big deal. And we'll continue along here. There we go, just like that. And keep repeating that same process. We've got a couple more to go, and we'll have to do that one more time with the top tier of the cake. We're going to join it all together. All right, so we have a couple more to go here. I'm going to join this last piece and put it in place, and then we'll close it up. Okay, so we'll tuck that behind, line it up nice and straight, and give that a quick press. There we go. Now we just have to finish this up here. We have this tab inside. You want to fold that back, apply your glue, and just press that into place. There we go. Okay, so that's that piece. Now, before we move on to the other one, we're going to take this piece. It's going to go right on top like this, and then we're going to glue these sections down. Okay, so we're going to take this piece, and we're going to put glue on one side of the little icing here. Okay, and then we're going to pop this on there. We don't have any glue on this yet. What I want to do is make sure that this is centered and on top of one of these sides completely, nice and centered, and press that down into place. We also want to make sure that this is sitting nice and flush on top, but we want to make sure that one of these sides is nice and centered on one of these sections first. Okay, that way, once we know that this is centered, the rest of this will just naturally fall in place. So this part is glued down. We can swing this back like this, and now we can apply our glue to this section. Press that down. Okay. Now this is the side that's glued down. We're going to go to the side that's opposite and just make sure that this is also centered, because there may be a little bit of give there. Okay, so if you need to nudge it over just a tiny bit, that's totally fine. Now that looks good. So I'm going to go around and press the rest of this into place, and that's perfect. So this is the side we started on. We're going to go over to this side now and peel back our icing and apply our glue to these little icicles, and just simply press that down into place. You can actually put that down on your surface and push down from the inside, like so. There we go. Okay, so these two sides are done. Let's go over to this side now and apply our glue to this set of icing. Nice and easy, don't overdo it here. We don't want it squirting out all over our beautiful pattern paper. Bring that over, looks like it's nice and centered. We'll press down. There we go. And now let's skip over here to the side opposite of the side we just did. Apply our glue, bring it all the way down to the very tip. Press it up against the surface, and then we can press down from the inside to really get that into place. And then that way we're not warping it either, because we're using a nice flat table. You can see how that looks. And that just leaves 4 more. Doesn't matter where you go at this point, because everything's already aligned for you. It's just a matter of gluing it down. Get that glue on the little icicles. Press that down. You can push from the inside. There we go. And then they're going to start to, and they should line up They should butt up against each other pretty much perfectly. Okay. And just make sure that everything is making good contact with this pink surface. All right, so I'm going to head over here now and apply my glue to this section, just like that. Press that down a little bit, and then you can push down on your table and flip it over and get those corners. Make sure those are sitting nice and flush. Okay, 2 more left. Very simple little project, I think. I love how it was engineered. So simple. Nothing quite like it out there either. Okay, there we go. If you want, you can do it this way too. You can push from this side. I just like to use my table because it's like having a huge hand that you can push down or up against with. And then I can use all 3 fingers, not worrying about warping this whole piece. And you can see how nicely everything's lining up. Okay, so last section here. Let's get that. Get some glue on the icicles. I might have had a little too much glue there, so I'll just hit that with my finger and thin it out a bit. Okay, there we go. I'm going to grab and just press these little end pieces in place first. I'll flip it onto my surface and press down. Take a look at those end pieces, make sure they're sitting nice and flat, and there we go. Beautiful. And as you can see, this is the part that's going to go onto that part, and that's going to sit like that. And then we've got one more tier to put together. So let's do that. This is basically the same thing that we just did, okay? And we're going to take, and we do have this tab here at the bottom. We're going to use that to anchor this to this piece, but not quite yet. So let's do that first. Let's get this box constructed. You can start putting glue on these tabs here, thin that out, bring it over, tuck that tab right behind the neighboring piece, and press that into place, just like that. And let's get that tab out of the way. Moving right along here. We're just going to repeat this process a few times. So the cool thing about, I'm lucky, even though I'm making this for you guys, obviously I get to give this to somebody, and I think that, well, my lovely lady is not really into the whole Valentine's Day thing. She's more of a tomboy, which I love. It's probably one of my favorite qualities about her. It doesn't mean I don't do romantic things for her, but I think our little Gabby will actually like this and appreciate this more than she would. So probably gonna fill this up with some delicious little treats and give this to her for Valentine's Day because she's a little cutie. She's going to be 10 in August. She's a great reader, A and B student, and really coming along. Really taking care of herself very well. She could probably clean her room a little more often, but that's okay. Can't win them all. I think I think it really comes down to personality. I was very tidy at pretty much every age for whatever reason. Could just be OCD. But either way, everyone's different. So anyway, this would be a great little Valentine's gift, obviously, for your hubby or your honey, maybe someone at work that's really cool, one of your best friends, girlfriend, whoever it may be. Okay, so the last tab here, just like we did before, we got to tuck that tab in. We don't want to stretch this thing out. And just take that, spread that glue out, and tuck that tab behind, just like that. And voila. Okay. All right, so we have that. And I'm going to leave these tabs alone for a minute. Okay. The next thing we want to do here, just like we have with this piece, we do have a little section for our, whatever you want to call it, icing, I guess. This is probably more like fondant, I guess. But anyway, I think what we're going to do is kind of do the same thing we did before, where we start with one of these sections. I'm going to start with this one here and apply my glue to this section right up to the score mark. Don't go past it. And we'll put this down flat. Make sure we remember which one has the glue on it. And I'm going to press that down onto one of the sides, making sure this is flat on the surface. We want to make sure that we get this nice and centered, just like we did before. Okay. Make sure this is nice and flush. This whole thing should be flat against this surface here. And this needs to be centered on this section. And that's going to anchor this so that everything else sits properly. Now we can flip this back, throw a little bit of glue right on there just to hold it in place. Make sure all of these are sticking outward. You don't want them to tuck under. Okay, let's glue that down. Grab, this is the side we just did, grab the other side and make sure that's centered. We don't have any glue on it yet. I'm just making sure it's centered. And then we can press down on the section where we just put glue on that whole hexagon. Okay, now we can flip this back, apply our glue here, and press that down onto this side. Because we centered it, it should pop on there perfectly, nice and centered. And there we go. Okay, so this side and this side are done. Let's go over here to this side, peel this back, apply your glue, nice and easy, don't need a lot, all the way down to the very edge of this little section. And press that down, again, making sure that it's centered. I don't think you can really move it too much at this point because it is anchored at two points. It's not really going to budge. But because we got those two sections centered perfectly, this is perfect. It's sitting exactly where it needs to be. Now we're going to skip over here to this side, peel this back, and apply our glue to this section, and press that down into place. I might have put too much glue on that. Let's see if it squirts out. Nope, looks good. Wonderful. So that just leaves 4 more, and you can pick whichever one you want at this point. Doesn't really matter. Go nice and easy on the glue and bring that down, and you can see how nicely everything joins. Everything's matching up perfectly, and it does look pretty seamless actually. So that is a testament to the engineering on this piece. Beautiful. Okay, next one here. At this point, I don't think it really matters which one you do next. Go ahead and press that down into place. Make sure everything is making good contact. And I think we just have 2 more to go. And now what we're going to do next is we're going to join this box to the first box that we created to add that second tier. That looks great. And then there's just one left here. All right, I said about 40 minutes on this. Might take a little bit longer, but that's okay. And you guys are I'm gonna see a lot of these, I feel like. Okay, cool. All right, so next what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these tabs, you can kind of straighten them up a little bit, and we're gonna poke them through this little hole. And we're gonna take these tabs and glue them to the inside of this first tier. Okay, we're gonna start by anchoring just one of these. Now what I would do is take these tabs, fold them up just to loosen the tension in those paper fibers. Just to make this easier, you can fold them back down now. Slide it through, and we're going to start with just one of these tabs. Make sure all the tabs are through. Okay, and then pick a tab, doesn't matter which one. I'm going to pick one of these tabs here. I'm going to go with this one, doesn't matter. Put your glue on there nice and thin. And we're going to take that tab and push it over. I had tabs sticking out, it just kind of popped out. Make sure it's nice and straight and push it over onto the surface there. And just make sure that this is nice and straight too. Okay, should be centered. Actually didn't get mine centered completely, so before it completely sets, I'm going to do that one more time. Get my glue on here, nice and thin. Can actually just do it like this for the first one. This straight edge here, match it up with the straight edge there. Make sure it's centered. And now from underneath, I'll show you here. I'm taking that tab and I'm pushing it up against the inside here, like that. Okay, let me just hold it down. I'm actually just really giving it a squeeze. I know this looks kind of weird, but I'll show you here what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see that tab right there, it's anchored to the inside. From the outside, this edge here is lined up with that cutout there. Now, we have this side anchored. We're going to go over to the other side. Now, here's where we really need to make sure that all the tabs are in, because once we get that one glued in, there's no turning back. Okay, so this side's glued down. We're going to go opposite side, apply our glue to that tab, nice and thin, and we're going to take it and push it onto the underside of this section. And I'm just going to look at it from this side, just to make sure that everything is as far in as it'll go, so there's no gaps. And I'll just press that down, just like that. There we go. Okay, so this side and this side are anchored. Now we're going to go over here, so we're kind of forming a cross. And I'll apply my glue to this piece, and we'll take that tab and push it down up against the underside of this section, and kind of pulling at it a little bit just to make sure it's nice and flush. Squeezing there, helping that tab make contact all the way. Okay, and there it is. So we've got 1, 2, 3 tabs. Now we're going to go over to this side, apply our glue there, push that tab over, and now from here on out, it gets easier because everything's already in place. We have 4 more tabs to go, and those are obviously already pretty much set. You could probably get away with not even gluing them down, but just for good measure, we're going to do it anyway. So I've got my glue there, and we'll press that down. I'm going to go over here, press that down, go here, press that down, and the last one, and press that down. Now that is not going anywhere. Okay, cool. And that looks wonderful. So we'll pop that on top of the main compartment there. So our cake's pretty much done. That's going to get glued to the base here. Okay, like that. Okay, so this little heart element, there's 4 pieces, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue segments back to back, like so. So take one of these, and I'm using, this is like a foil, and it's not really, so we're going to take 2 of these, and I'm going to apply glue to 1/2 of the heart, like so. Now there's a little tab here at the bottom, don't put any glue on that. Take another 1/2, and we're going to put these back to back, like so. Now I'm using a foil here, so I got to be careful not to blemish this with glue. You can use your surface, because this section here is going to sit flat. You can use your surface to kind of help you with the alignment. Just kind of squeeze that together. Okay, so we have this. Now we'll take the other 2, we'll do the same thing, put glue on one side. This is on the inside, obviously. Don't put any glue on the tab. And then take the other 1/2 and join those 2 together. Just kind of back to back. Make sure they're aligned as accurately as you can get them. Okay, there we go. Press that together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take and connect these together like this, so that no matter what angle you look at it from, you'll be able to see the heart shape. Again, don't forget to not put any glue on those tabs. So for this one here, we're going to put glue on the entire two halves, like so. Then we'll take this one and pop it right on there. Whoops. Do your best to get that aligned. I like to use my fingers to kind of feel and make sure that everything is sitting correctly. Give that a good press, especially up at the top here. Okay, there we go. That looks pretty good. Okay, now we have these series of tabs here. I want to make sure the bottoms are nice and together. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these tabs and we're going to slide them through these little slits here. Might be a little tricky. Not really though. There we go, just like that. Then we're going to glue those to the underside of this piece. And obviously you want to, I'm going to put glue on this one here, like that, and then press that over onto the underside here, making sure that this thing is nice and flat on this surface. Okay, that looks good. And then I'll go over to the, I'm going to go over to this one here. So I'm going to cross over, making sure I'm putting glue on the right side. It doesn't really matter as long as you keep it going clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm going to take this one and push it over to this side, up against that surface, just like that. Perfect. Then we'll go over here, throw a dot of glue on that one, push that over, make sure it's nice and flush against the surface. And then there's one left. And push that up against there. Now at this point we can put this down on our table and press down on all four of those little tabs. Okay, so we end up with this. Very cool little piece. All right, so now we've got some, what we want to do here is just take a look at this. You can see this line here where you have these two sections that join. We also have this little loop here. What I want to do is get the heart so that it's facing that edge. I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, but I'm going to put it right here like this so that the center of this is lined up. So just pretend that there's like a line that goes right from here to here. Get that centered and try to keep that heart centered as well. Okay. All right, so let's flip this over and we can apply our glue to this whole thing. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier. I'm going a little bit heavier here because I'm putting this on glitter, and glitter just requires a little extra patience. Okay, so don't get glue on that. Be careful. Get that nice and centered. Okay, it helps if you just kind of look at it from this angle. And that looks good. And now I can press down on all four sides here. If you are also using glitter like I am, be very patient while that sets, and that looks great. Okay, give that a few moments to really set. Just kind of moving my finger around the perimeter of this, making sure that's sitting nice and flat. Okay, and there is our beautiful cake. So now all that's left to do is assemble the stand, which is very simple. And we have, okay, I have this little piece here. It's also decorative. We're going to take this and glue it to the underside of our base here. And that's going to help us with the positioning of the actual stand. What you want to do here is just make sure that you get this as centered as possible so that this little area here is even all the way around. If you're a tad bit off, it's not the end of the world, but you want to do your best. Of course, you want to make sure that the straight lines, the straight angles here match up with the straight sides here. Okay, so that looks good. And then what we're going to do, much like we did with the little heart, we're also going to do the same thing with this little base. We're going to glue 2 sections together back to back. Do not put any glue on these little triangles yet. That's for later. So go ahead and put some glue on this whole section here, like so. Grab another one, and we're just going to go back to back like this. Make sure it is nice and aligned. You got a few seconds to make any little minor adjustments to make sure, and you can actually put this down flat once you have it aligned, just to help you press down and really get it to sit nice and flat. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to fold it the other way real quick just for good measure. Okay, so we have a double section here, and we're going to take this piece here. I'm going to fold this. Okay, and then you can see here there's also a score line. You want to fold that towards you, like that. Kind of, if you have a bone folder, that could be helpful. I'll do the same thing here, like that. Fold that towards you. There we go. Okay, then we'll take 2 of these sections and just glue them back to back, just like that. Okay, so we'll take that, line that up as accurately as we can. I'm going to put that down on my surface because it's kind of helping me with the alignment. There we go. And then you can put that down flat as well. Just really push down on that. There we go. Okay, we'll fold it back over this way. Give it one more press. Okay, and don't worry about these little triangles just yet. And now we can take and glue both of these sections together. And you can see how it's creating that stand. And then these guys are going to get glued to this piece here to kind of finish it off. So now we can take our glue and apply it to both sides so we can join both sections together. Okay, going a little bit heavier with the glue here. Just spread it out. There we go. Take this, pop it right on top of the other half. Oops, the other half. I must have some glue on my fingers somewhere. And work on getting that aligned nicely. There we go. Okay, give that a good press. Good press there. Perfect. Okay, we can actually take this and just press it down flat. It doesn't really matter. There we go. Okay, open it back up. You can open these up. And as I mentioned, the shape of this here, now these little triangles are going to fit right in here, like so. Okay, and we're just using that as kind of a guide. I accidentally inked that. I didn't have to, but all right, so let's do that. And I think we can do this in one fell swoop here. So go ahead and just begin applying your glue to these little triangles. It's okay if you go a little bit heavier. No one's really going to see the underside of this. If they're looking at how neat the underside of this is, then maybe you don't want to have friends like that. Just kidding. All right, so let's just line these up with the existing shape there. Okay. And if you need to kind of nudge things out a little bit, that's fine. Just press that into place. There we go. And there you go. And just continue, just kind of working your way around. If you need to give them a little nudge, that's fine. And there we go. Okay, make sure you press towards the center as well. There we go. Cool. Well, that was pretty easy, actually. Beautiful. And there it is. All right, so now all that's left to do is we're going to put glue on the bottom of this and glue this to the actual stand. Now, obviously, we want the straight angles here lined up with the straight angles here, the straight sides. Okay, and it may help just to kind of look at it from like an eagle eye perspective, like a top down, just to make sure that we've got it nice and centered. So let's go ahead and apply our glue to the entire bottom of this. I'm going to go a little bit heavier here because I'm going to be spreading the glue out to the very edge. Okay, nice and quick. Don't give that glue a chance to get too tacky just yet. Maybe a little bit in the center for good measure. And as I mentioned, kind of like an eagle's eye perspective on this, pop it in place and give it a little bit of a nudge in whichever direction it needs to go. Hopefully you don't have to move it too much. And that looks pretty good, I'd say. Okay, and then just kind of press it into place all the way around. I'm not overly concerned about making sure that this looks seamless here, because when we put the actual cake down, it's a little bit longer than the base, and it's going to sit nice and flat for us. So let's take a look here. There we go. Okay, and there it is. Wow, that's super cute. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Take a look at the final photo on the website and in the trailer, and you'll see how I bling this thing out. We're going to add some pearls, some rhinestones to it. You can dress it up however you'd like, and that's going to do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please visit our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. While you're there, hit the little bell so you get notifications anytime we release a new product, whether it be paid or free. And if you make this or anything from our latest bundle, I'd love to see it, and so would the rest of our community. So head over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Official. That's where you'll find myself and over 40,000 other dreamers that inspire us daily. So happy cake making. Don't eat too much. And as always, I look forward to crafting with you again. Hey, thanks for crafting along with me. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out some of our other videos. And also, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And don't forget to visit our site and check out our free SVG section, where we have over 140 free SVG files complete with assembly videos. I look forward to crafting with you soon.